I'm Carlita, and you're watching Carlita Talk, where we talk with individuals uplifting our community who have a mindset of a champion. Today, I sit down with Giovanna Camacho, a student NASA engineering intern, who is using her love of technology to turn her obstacles into opportunities. You don't want to miss this one.
Welcome to the studio.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And so you're in Virginia? Is that where you're at?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about, I'm recording. Okay, thank you. Get out of here. I'm just kidding. You're ruining it. We kind of have similar hairdos.
Oh, yeah.
We're kind of long right now. So yeah, tell me a little bit about where you're at and what you're doing right now.
Okay. Yeah. Currently, I'm at the University of Virginia. I'm finishing up my doctorate degree in systems engineering, and I'm currently working on a prototype that has, I completed the build. It has vibrations that help navigate both the blind and rescue divers underwater as they navigate. So through the sense of touch, and it's on a belt. And by doing that, I'm able to utilize different frequencies, vibrations, timing in order to make sure that that's more of an intuitive sense. Like it almost feels like somebody's touching you to go one direction or turning you in a certain direction with that sense of touch. And I built this during my time as a NASA Pathways at Armstrong. That was out in California. So I had a good time building it up in the fiber optics lab. And I worked with some mentors that I had over there, Jonathan Lopez, as well as Alan Parker and Jacob Wilson. So it was a good time getting to learn and piece together from both mechanical and electrical engineers and kind of grow my skill set out a little bit better.
Okay, so I'm going to back you up just a little bit because that's a lot right there.
Oh, yeah.
So when I read what you wrote down for us, I was like, oh, wow, she has a story. Like that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
This is great. So, okay. So you are in school right now and you're making, what exactly is this that you're making? Because I understand that it's helping diver. What is it helping? What is it for?
Oh,
is
to
it
help navigate.
Is it for military? Okay.
Rescue divers. Yep. So to help them navigate, I'm actually a part of the Monticello dive rescue team. So if individuals are diving and they get injured, or how you had the bridge collapsed and you had people fall into the water,
right?
This will help them navigate and find bodies a lot sooner.
Awesome. And so it helps them with frequency, so you can feel it feels the energy or it feels the vibration of somebody that's underwater. Is that how
it feels the vibrations, and the vibrations are signaling you, telling you which way to go.
How is it doing that? I'm just trying to figure out how this works.
Through vibrations. So there's GPS signaling that comes in, right?
Yeah.
And you'll feel those vibrations and it'll tell you turn left, turn right. Very similar to, instead of visually getting that aid like you would in a car, now you're having it on your body around your waist, and it'll tell you to turn left, turn right.
Oh, cool. Okay. I understand that now. Okay, that's so cool. Yeah. I love that. That's great. So how did you get to where you're at now? Tell me a little bit more about your history and where you started from to get you to where you're at now.
Whew, that's been a long journey.
I know. I'm excited to hear it because there's a lot.
Yeah. So when I was young, I had no idea about STEM or anything related to STEM. I didn't think about aerospace, none of that. Which a lot of people use those terms quite frequently now. So when I was growing up, I originally, had all these ideas about becoming a doctor. I kind of feel like that's the route a lot of people say, is to go medical. It's safe, you get a job anywhere. But I think I went through a little bit of a struggle right in my earlier years. So I was taken from my home at the age of 12 by Child Protective Services. And I ended up kind of bouncing around a lot of different homes and trying to find my way because I didn't want to go back into the system. And so that time is heavy turbulence. I had to work a lot of different jobs to make sure that I could get through high school. So for me, graduating high school was a big deal and trying to get ahead in the world. I didn't know what I was doing when I was filling out college applications, right? I knew I wanted to go to college, but I didn't realize that there's like a rolling acceptance, which means that they'll accept people as you turn it in. So I was only paying attention to the deadlines. So as I cycled through, I did my California applications first. And I got a phone call actually from West Point because I had put in initial paperwork, and they're like, "Are you finishing up this application? We've already accepted everybody for this year." And I was like, "But how? Like the deadline's not until later." So that was when they offered me the opportunity to go to the preparatory school, which used to be Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. And from there, I was just like, well, it'll get me out of here. And I had seen a lot of my soccer teammates getting injuries, and they would end up in community college and really struggling to finish out school. So when I had the acceptance from West Point and I kind of learned a little bit more about the program, I learned, with military service, I could be more well-rounded. I could get to play sports, do all the things that I want to do, learn something different, give back to my country. But more than ever, I feel like a lot of people in the military are kind of trying to like escape this past, right? So I was trying to get out of the environment that I was in and try to find a way to better myself. So I think I kind of went through some growing pains, right? Because I was kind of a street kid wandering around a little bit. And then next thing you know, I'm at West Point. They're telling me when to do, how to do, what to do. So you're getting used to that regimented lifestyle. And then in addition to that, during my time period, there was not very many females within my class. So they said for every one female, there's like 11 male cadets. So that was also very difficult, trying to get people to accept you as a female into the team. You're kind of ruining the brotherhood. So that was very difficult to deal with during that time period, as well as having a lot of issues with regards to sexual harassment and assault during my time at the academy. So trying to work through that. And during my time, I also was frustrated because my outlet, when I ended up working in high school, I worked at a gym. And as I was the janitor at the gym, they offered me the opportunity to kickbox, right? And they said they needed more female representation at the gym. So at Ramtown Karate, I ended up doing more kickboxing, bringing more female clientele into that gym. But that was also my outward release because I was kind of an angry kid. So when I turned around to go to West Point and I wanted to join the boxing team, they're like, women are not allowed. So they would kick the women out of the gym, weren't allowed to get into the gym. And I was just kind of really frustrated with that. And a lot of the females we would end up having to go to a place called Camp Buckner, which was off of, the proper West Point area, and practice out there. And we were just rallying to get this boxing program up and running. And so for us, it was a continued push. And it took us 4 years. It wasn't until my senior year they finally acknowledged us as a club team. So for me, that was a big win because I was able to still have that outlet. I felt like women were kind of we're carving out our own space, right? So that we can be accepted within that community. And a couple years later on, they ended up actually allowing women to take the boxing class as like a main core curriculum class, because before they would have you take combatives because before you're allowed to take boxing, almost as if you're not smart enough, to pick up a skill set. So that was a little frustrating. But then moving on from there, I went to my first duty station, and little did I know that West Point really helped prepare me for what I was going to experience at an even graver scale, right? Because now I'm going into a new unit, very first female to hit that combat unit as a medical officer. And for me, that was very difficult. You're traveling very much alone. You have people saying inappropriate things all the time. I thought that I was going to get support from my leadership, and right off the bat, they're like, guys, we'll get rid of her in 2 weeks. But what they found out is they're not able to get rid of me. They had misspelled my name. They thought I was Giovanna Camacho instead of Giovanna. So they told me that they were expecting like a big Samoan guy. So when I showed up, I was a grave disappointment. And, they kind of told my platoon, no sexual harassment or anything. But then right off the bat, you have guys that are trying to hit on you while you're trying to tell them, we got to move out. So I ended up, having to be very strict, very regimented, which is not my leadership style. I'm way more lax, as long as we can get the job done. I don't care how you do it, when you do it. But you end up having to almost become very cold, distant, and that's what you have to do to gain that respect. So I really had to, step up my game. And from there, I ended up being able to get my soldiers to accept me, but the leadership never accepted me. They had me it took away my men for platoon time, and we were supposed to have medical trainings together. They took away my platoon for physical fitness time, as if I wasn't physically fit or ready to, train them appropriately, which was very frustrating because I was the fastest runner,
sure,
to keep up and lead from the front.
Mm-hmm.
And put me in charge of what they call profiled PT.
You're probably like top 5% of the whole space or whatever, and you're still not, because you're female, you're still not.
Right. And for me, and it was even funnier from a physical standpoint, I'm smaller. So of course I can run faster than these 200-pound guys, right? So that was also very frustrating for me, especially knowing that I had the curriculum to know what a physical fitness plan looks like, and to know, how not to overtrain and all these things. And I was, as a leader, you're ready to share those things and you're not able to because you're female. And you would hear the commentary coming back, like, you can't do this. That they took us away from you because you're female. That we did this layout, but that the commander already has a negative commentary on it, and you're going to get reprimanded for it, even though he hasn't even seen the layout yet. So I would get, all this negative feedback. So it was a very dark time during that time period. But that's when I kind of heard about the world-class athlete program for boxing. So I was like, boxing was my release. It still has been. I'm going to train up and I want to go to that program. So I was able to get an audience with the command sergeant major, because my first sergeant at the time felt bad for me. So I went in, talked to the command sergeant major. He goes, if you do this best ranger competition, because this was around the time that they're allowing females to go into the ranger competition, and they needed females to, compete for slots. He says, if you do this and you do very well in it, we'll sign your paperwork. We'll coerce your chain of command to let you go. And so I trained up for it, did the best ranger competition, and I ended up finally getting to move out of that unit, which even before leaving, they replaced me, with a male. So everything was intact. I move over to, that's when I came over to Fort Carson, Colorado, and I was in the world-class athlete program. And during that time period, again, things were really different within that training program. Trying to accommodate females was interesting. You could tell that the coaches were trying to get used to that transition, because this was the time period that the Olympics came down and said that men could now box without headgear. So the Army was not on board with that. So the whole team ended up being majority female. We only had about 2 males on the team, and, they had to train us to get us moving forward, even though you knew that they would prefer to train males. They were kind of just stuck training females. So that kind of worked during that time period. And I ended up placing 4th Olympic trials, even though, again, you kind of run into that same stigma. Females were only allowed during that time period 3 weight classes, while the men had all the weight classes.
Right. And
so that was a little frustrating, because, here's measly me at 103 trying to compete at 112. And people are kind of busting down to that weight. So I'm ended up fighting people that are quite larger and taller than me.
Yeah.
So that was kind of rough, kind of going through that. And then going back to my regular unit, I kind of ran into the same stigma. I just got tired of being told, nope, can't do it because you're female. Nope, can't do it because you're female. You kind of felt like you're getting held back in your career. So I decided, it's time to get out. It's time to move forward, go through this transition. I ended up going to medical school, and I went for the first semester, and I had a scholarship. But then I realized, this isn't really what I want to do. Like, it's not, things aren't panning out the same way. I feel like, we're helping people after their injuries. Like, I want to get ahead of that. I want to try to find my way, but I didn't know exactly how to do that just yet. And so when I left medical school, I sent out a bazillion resumes, and I thought, I like movies. Let's try that. Let's do this until I figure out what it is I really want to do. So to keep ends meet, I ended up coaching boxing classes in Barbados. And then I also taught scuba diving lessons. And then the time came up when, my time period, my visa was kind of running out at Barbados. So I ended up rushing over to California. I ended up getting accepted at Veterans Media and Entertainment. I worked out in Hollywood for a bit, and that was when I realized, okay, like, I liked engineering. I could maybe do a preventive medicine side. If we build things correctly, that will eliminate injuries on the back end. And so I was like, but I love the beach. Where do I want to go? So I honestly Googled, like, best human factor school, and I saw Embry-Riddle pop up Daytona Beach, and I was like, that's where I want to go. So I applied. during the time I was still doing some backstage things, and then COVID hit. So Hollywood essentially got shut down. And I was like, all right, it's time to make the transition over to Florida. So I went, got my master's degree at Embry-Riddle. That was when I got a little bit more introduced to the academic world of what aerospace was, what STEM meant. And then I realized, wow, I really want to continue to pursue this. But again, I was told by, many people that you've been out of school for way too long. There's no way I'll get accepted into a PhD program. And so I was like, what do I have to do? What are the benchmarks that I have to do to make this happen? You need to be published. You need to do more research. You need to go out and get more internship experience because you don't have any of these skills from the military. So that's what I did. I just applied to tons of internship opportunities. I sent out 60 applications and I only got back one yes finally. And that was the Army Research Laboratory. So I worked at the Army Research Laboratory for a little bit. Then next thing you know, I got offered another invite from Spartan. So it was like almost as soon as I got one yes, then the doors kind of started opening for more internship possibilities.
Yeah, I feel like that's usually what happens.
Yeah. So then I worked there, went to Pratt & Miller, worked up in Michigan for a little bit. And then an email had came in saying that there was an instructor that was looking for doctorate students from Virginia. And I was just kind of like, I would really like to stay in Florida. So that didn't work out for me, though. Any of the instructors that I spoke with, they didn't have the finances to carry me on when I tried to check into Florida State University. And Embry-Riddle had said, no, we don't usually take you and, bring you on into doctorate degree programs. So you got to figure it out. So I applied to Penn State, Michigan, Virginia. But then I realized when I got accepted to these programs, I started to realize it was really important to get along with the advisor and try to find my way. So that is kind of how I landed on the University of Virginia because they had a Link Lab program. And knowing myself, I knew I was interested in systems engineering, like overall engineering. But with the Link Lab, you're able to network and link in, with everybody and figuring out different kinds of engineering and how that all works together as overall systems. So that was really interesting to me. And so that's kind of how I made the move up here to Virginia and figured out my way. And while I've been here in Virginia, I've been able to intern at Aerospace Corporation. And then I was able to get the NASA Pathways internship. So it's kind of been a long, crazy journey. I think if you talk to a lot of military people, when they get out, they kind of do bing, 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 trying to find their way like I did. But I think it has been a great experience to figure out my brand, what I stand for. And trying to find my way has made me more well-rounded and different skill sets and being able to converse and figure out my way through networking. So I think it's been a very interesting journey. Lots of highs, lots of lows. Also from the physical standpoint, while I was at the academy, I had suffered osteomyelitis. It's an injury of the jaw that I had to overcome there. And, even getting out of the military, I still have injuries that I procured from the military. So trying to
boxing or no, they're from just like military things.
Military heavy rucking. So I have, collapsed vertebrae, no cartilage in my knee, tarsal tunnel syndrome, which is like overuse from your ankles. So just trying to combat getting out of the military, finding a new life, dealing with pain management, trying to find your way within the Veterans Administration system is very difficult as far as medical care goes. So I think in all of that, I've learned how to be my own advocate, but it's also been difficult at times because you're just slamming your head against the wall till you get the right answers.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, my dad was in the military and I went with him to the VA to try to get things worked out for years. I mean, it took years before he finally started getting benefits. He was in his 60s. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. That's 40 years later or whatever,
Yeah. So for me, I think I was a little bit luckier in that aspect because when I went out to go to medical school, my plan was if this doesn't work, all I've ever known is the military. So I'll just go back. But I got a letter actually a year later where it's just pretty much like a thank you for your service, but you're a broken toy. We don't want you back.
Right.
Here's your benefits. And I was just like, wait, what? And I remember getting that letter and just being angry because I felt like I was thrown out like a used toy, and I'm like, but I think in a way it forced me to move forward with my life. So I think a lot of my pain and angst towards that has been after the fact, trying to figure out, okay, well, I have this benefit, but how can I get access to these appointments? You know, what is it that I need to make my life work so that I can handle the pain and manage and get through on a day-to-day basis? As this is like my new base standard of pain, you kind of have to get used to that. And you have to figure out how you're going to accommodate these injuries and tailor it back, right? I mean, I was an Olympic athlete, and now you're realizing, dang, the stuff I used to be able to do, I cannot execute at that high of an intensity anymore.
Right.
So you got to find your new norm. And I think that's true even beyond just physical, like physical, mental, and, you know, putting forth that effort in the civilian world. Because it's a big world out here. You know, it's a lot different from having the military as your mommy daddy kind of, you know.
Yeah. Well, between you and Marcus, who is our director of PPSV Charities, like I noticed, I don't know if it's just athletes in general from the military, but like what I'm seeing from you and what I know from him is like you guys are go-getters. Like you guys just know you're getting your shit done, like you're going for it, you're doing all the things, and it's awesome to see because it's like, you know, I think a lot of people get stuck. A lot of people feel like, oh, well, you know, oh, I didn't get accepted to this, so I'm just going to give up, or I'm not going to try anymore, or I'm just going to go over here and do this thing, even though I don't really want to do it. I really want to go do that. I'm just going to stop trying. You know what I mean? Like you guys go and go and go and go and go. And it's like, sometimes you don't take no for an answer. And I think that's really great. Like that's kind of how you know, persevere through things and make things happen, you know? That's
yeah,
awesome.
I would definitely say that's part of our, I mean, it's part of our warrior ethos, right? Never quit. And I think it's really important for people to realize that you can't play victim. You know what I mean? Like it's very easy to go out every day and be like, oh, I couldn't do this because this person said no, or this person's my way. But I think it's really important to figure out different perspectives, try to understand from their foxhole what that looks like, and try to find your way over, around, under, through, whatever you need to do to try to get to that yes.
Yeah. And like you said, sometimes it doesn't work, right? So you get a letter from the military saying you can't come back. So it's like, all right, that's frustrating, and you get broken or sad or frustrated with that. But also it's like maybe the universe is telling you like there's another thing for you, you know, like go the other direction. This is not for you anymore.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's important to let yourself have, like, I don't know, everybody's a little different. Like maybe 24 hours, you can go ahead and sit there and, you know, sulk for a bit.
Mhm.
But eventually you got to pick yourself up and figure it out. And I think that's the biggest power of humanity, is being able to overcome those obstacles and being able to push forward. And if you're thinking about it, like you can make a difference not only for you, but maybe for others, because you might be able to carve a new path for others that might be able to have an easy yes. So, and for an example of that is during my time at the academy, how I started the West Point women's boxing team there. You know, I've gone back and visited. They have no idea how much of a privilege it is to be able to walk into those boxing rooms and be able to hang out with guys and box and throw hands. And for me, it was just such a beautiful thing to be able to walk back in, and they have no idea. And that's exactly how I want it to be. I don't want them to have to go through the same trials and errors that I had to go through.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's awesome, like for you knowing that you did that. That's like such a, like, you know, like nobody else has to know that, right? None of these girls have to know that you did that, but you know you did it. And it's like, that's really, that makes you feel so like powerful in a way. Like you did that for people.
Right. And it kind of just goes to show how like one person pushing for something with everybody else, like helping support, can make a difference. Right. So I definitely was the one spearheading, pushing, but I had other people helping me along the way. But if you need to be the point, if you need to be that arrow, you know what I mean? Like you should go out there and be that point and get the support and rally the effort behind such things that could help bring the light up for other people. So
yeah, that's awesome. And then also I wanted to talk a little bit about like your background in terms of like, you know, your childhood, where you came from, like how, you know, because there's a lot there. Like you kind of went through just a teeny tiny bit of it, but I think there's a lot more there that maybe would help people that have been in situations like yours or whatever, know that like there is hope for them, that there's like opportunities for them. There's a life for them outside of, you know, unfortunate circumstances that happen.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I would definitely say for people going through similar upbringings that I did, you know, if you went through any emotional, sexual, or even physical abuse, obviously there's going to be a lot of counseling. I know for the longest time, I pent it all up inside. You shove it down in a box, and physical fitness and getting my schoolwork done really helped keep me focused. So if there's something that you can help find your focus, I think that's really important. And also coming to terms with getting the mental health. Like, I think there's a stigma there. People talk about, we go to the doctor, for your body, but why would you not go to the doctor for your brain? It's the most important part. So
let's even have somebody to talk to. Like, you need to let it out. You can't box it. You can't put it in a box.
You cannot.
Because it does not want to stay there. And it just makes you angry, and it makes you sad, and it makes you more upset. And like, you need to let that out. Even
absolutely.
Yeah.
And you will fail, because I did miss that part. When I was searching, even after Embry, I still had moments of searching where, I went and I was like, okay, I'm going to try to apply for this job. And I walked into that interview and they were asking me, certain questions about my past. And I kept evading. And I failed the interview. And later on, they said, well, you failed to share what we asked you. And I realized I'm not comfortable yet, so I had to go back, get the counseling that I needed to be able to pursue past that. And it also goes just beyond, being successful from a business perspective or even from school, but also in the personal relationships that you'll wield in the future. So you want to make sure that any insult to injuries that you had, you're not continuing that chain of patterns, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to be better for your children, your family members.
It's generational.
Right. And I think for me, it was okay that sometimes I started to realize it got a little harder to accept in life. But when you go through certain seasons of your life, right, if your immediate family's not available, you'll find other people that can kind of fill those holes for you, right? You might find somebody that's like a mother figure, a father figure, a brother, sister, friend, whatever that is. And they might be that person for that season of your life. But as you continue to move on, some of those relationships are going to grow, and some of them you might grow out of, and that's okay too. And so I think realizing that as you move from each season, it's okay to transition and find family wherever you're at, whether that's in your community, in a specific social setting, like, if it's like, I'm a member of this group, this sport, this academic realm, if you can find people within there that can be kind of your tribe for that season. I think that's really important, and being okay with, they were here for me on this part of the journey, then they decided to take the exit, and I'm going to keep pushing forward. So being able to also deal with those transitions and finding family outside of blood relations is really important.
Yeah. Do you find that that is something that really, because of your situation, because you were thrown into foster care at 12, that was something that was very difficult for you to kind of learn?
Yes, very difficult. So I know that I felt very abandoned in my childhood. Mm-hmm. I felt confused, right? So like a person that was supposed to be my number one, was not a number one supporter, right? And then you realize, wow, you're all alone in this big world, but you're really not. Like, there might be individuals that you can reach out to, like I said, to help find your way during that period. But then I've also realized they're not always going to be there in your corner, right? Because you are alone. A lot of times that relationship might be a little bit different from a blood relation. And that's got to be okay.
Would you say that you are your number one? Because you know how you were saying, like, you feel like, when you're a child, you feel like that your mom, your dad, whatever, they're supposed to be your number one. They're supposed to be that the people that have you, because of the things that happen to you. Like, you are your number one. Do you feel like you learned that? Like,
oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that it came around full circle, right? Because you start to think, okay, I thought that I was their number one. Then you join the military, right? And you think, okay, I'm part of this team. Like the Army, they're thinking I'm the number one. And then you realize before you know it, you're like, no, I'm just another number, right? So you really have to be your own number one and realize that even as medics, they teach us, take care of yourself first before you help others. Mm-hmm. And you really do need to do that. You got to fill your cup up. You probably heard this a bunch before you're able to pour it into everybody else's. Yeah. So it's super important to make sure that you're okay And if you're not okay, it's okay to not be okay, but make sure that you take the time that's needed to get yourself right before
make
you
it
get
okay.
back out there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why I brought that up. Awesome. That's something
Yeah.
that I believe in, truly, is that you are your number one. You
Yep.
are the person that's always going to have your back. You're, the person that you feed, you're going to feed, that you have to take care of you, and if you're not taking care of you, you can't take care of your family. You can't take care of, your friends. You can't take care of all the other things that you need to take care of. So I think that's really important when we think about mental health. I think taking care of yourself is so important, and it shouldn't feel selfish. It shouldn't feel like, you're being needy or any of these other things. Like, you just need to take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you can think of that you wanted to bring up for mental health or?
Not that I can think of at this time. I think I pretty much highlighted that. Yeah, as soon as I think that it's even healthy to go. I would say one more thing. It is healthy to go, even if you don't think that you're having any sort of issues, right? I think it's healthy to always have somebody to talk to and kind of vent to. That way you're not stuck alone, because your mind can do some challenging things to you, and we're all our own harshest critics. So sometimes you can get stuck ruminating with your own thoughts. So I think it's important to always have somebody to go to, talk to, try to find some sort of outlet. That way you're doing more preventative than waiting until it gets to be too much.
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually started therapy this summer. I haven't been in therapy since I was like 16.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I'm going to do it again. And it's been like really great. And she's almost like a friend now, right? So like when you go with somebody for a certain amount of times, it's like, oh, well, that just becomes like a person that you can just talk to. It's not like, you're spilling all your deep, dark secrets and it's like awkward and weird. It's like, no, it's like, this is somebody that's helping you. This is somebody that like you can really just like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. Just tell them,
Absolutely. And even if you get the opportunity to verbalize it, you start to realize there's a lot of things that are not okay that you almost didn't realize in your brain. And I also think it's helpful, if you don't have somebody to talk to, write it down. Like, you write down what you're going through. And if you come back and read it, you can actually like think through things and problem solve a lot better. And you kind of put on the piece of paper, here are things I can control. Here are things that I have to wait on. And it helps to do that mental exercise.
Writing things down is really important.
Yep. Just to help figure out, okay, these are the things that I can work on. These are the things I have to just let it be at this point in time. Right. And if you keep coming back to that, even each day, each night, you'll start to feel a lot better. I think realizing, you do have a little less anxiety, start realizing you kind of give yourself a to-do list. And I think it makes life a lot more manageable.
Yeah, I agree with you. Awesome. Well,
yep.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for letting us talk and being part of PPSV Charities. Are you still talking with Marquise or?
Yep, he actually ends up hitting me up every so often, and we
okay.
Yep.
So are you close to where he's at? Because I know you're both on the East Coast.
Yeah, I think he said he was in DC, so he should be about an hour away from me.
Okay, that's cool.
So fairly close.
Everything's so close there.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're on the East Coast,
I'm like, I don't know. That's like 2 hours away, and that's like still in Colorado. So I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, if you ever come out here, let me know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
We could go for a hike or something.
Oh, I'd love that. Yeah, I love Colorado hikes, especially I go up there and do the Sweet 16s. I love Fountain Creek. That's probably like one of my favorite run areas.
So. Okay. Wait, Fountain Creek.
It's over in Fountain.
I lived in Colorado Springs for 9 years. Okay, I've never been to Fountain Creek. I've never been over there.
Oh, okay.
I went to Fountain. That's like too far southeast.
Yeah, I imagine you've probably been to Garden of the Gods too. It's gorgeous there. So.
I used to ride my bike through Garden of the Gods all the time. But I used to do the incline like 3 times a week.
When I lived
there.
Yeah. The incline. Yep. And going down Bar Trail is a good time.
Yeah.
Although I don't like that they're like, now you have to pay for parking. You're like, it's ruining nature.
I know. It's totally different now, but that's okay. Everything changes.
Yeah, that's true.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Giovanna Camacho has shown us determination and curiosity can turn obstacles into opportunities. If you have a story that uplifts the community, head to our website and fill out the form for Carlita Talk. And make sure to like, follow, and subscribe PPSV Charities for more inspiring stories.